Well, Dr. Tunji Ogunyemi joins us now to shed some light on this matter. He's a budget historian. Thank you for coming on this morning.
So much.
So again, we're back to this matter of discussing the budget with respect to the fuel subsidy or no fuel subsidy. I mean, on the streets now, lots of people just waiting in different areas to see how they could just get fuel for their car and get down to work. Do you see yourself getting out of this cycle? It keeps going back and forth, arguing about to pay or not to pay.
I think the background is actually that the Nigerian economy is in dire straits. It's in dire straits, and the issue of budget and budgeting to cover subsidies over petroleum products is one of the fundamental challenges of the Nigerian budgeting system. But the truth of it is that I don't believe, frankly speaking, that the level of subsidy we build into the budget every year is sustainable. It's just not sustainable. I agree that there can be some pains on the end users, particularly the industrial users. But the truth is that the beneficiaries, the real beneficiaries of subsidies are middlemen, importers and middlemen. That's the truth.
Not in any way the people.
I tell you, even when subsidies are removed, check out for last year, when subsidies were removed, Nigerians still paid, and you know, the real beneficiaries.
Were they removed?
Last year, the year before, I thought that, yeah. The year
partially.
Yes, partially, but it was removed. I mean, removed significantly. Don't forget, it was supposed to be 100 naira per litre, then it was moved to 87. I mean, that's to show that there was some subsidies were removed. But the truth of it is that the level of subsidies we have in our budget now is not sustainable, going back to Nigeria's financial situation.
What should we be doing?
What we should do, really, is to permit a situation in which importers face the full risk of the oscillating price mechanism in the world. If, for example, we have a situation in which oil falls to the international market, it should have a direct impact, of course, on the end users. And so, this zero-risk system in which importers will depend on the federal government to subsidize them, to pay subsidies, and then they do not just take any risk, should be eliminated.
How do you mean when you say if oil falls on the international market, it should have a direct impact on the consumer?
Of course, you know, if it falls, if the price falls at the international market, it means, of course, that the cost of importing, the cost of bringing the food back to Nigeria will also fall. I mean, if a barrel of oil, for example, sells for $30 per barrel, it will mean that what you are buying in the international spot market will reduce significantly.
Well, I was just wondering, though, I mean, people have said that one of the reasons that we shouldn't even be importing in the very first instance, but this is where we found ourselves in terms of importing fuel, importing petrol in particular into the country, which is what many Nigerians rely on a daily basis to get about and also power their homes and offices. How do we then begin to, you say that the middlemen are the ones, you know, profiting the most from this. They will disagree with you. They will say, we're in business. This is the job that we do. We bring in petrol or whatever product at, you know, a certain price. We're going to sell at a profit. The federal government says, no, we are regulating the price. This is the price you must sell. We will pay you the difference. How is it then that they're profiting from, you know, what it is that they're doing?
Actually, the total and the absolute interest of the state, I mean the government, should be the welfare of the people. And the welfare of the people, if it is paramount, I mean our law says that, Chapter 2 of the Constitution says that. Specifically Section 14, Sub 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic says the welfare and security of the people shall be the real objective of the state. If government intervenes on behalf of the end users, especially industrial consumers, it's appropriate. But for those who are in business, they are also in business within the Nigerian business environment, and they cannot be an island. I mean, we account for the profits they make, and it's high time they too considered it necessary to also give in at least some sacrifices. This idea of refusing or holding government by the jugular and saying we are not going to supply fuel because you have not paid us arrears of subsidy is just not proper, because government will still pay. It's like they are taking rates. I mean, even differentials in the fluctuation of the value of the dollar. The government factors that into the payment of the subsidy, and quite a huge sums of money had gone into that. About $1 billion American dollars, for example, had gone into paying subsidy in the last 9 months. And that's significant.
Well, if we circumvent that, if we say, okay, let us say we hold on in terms of paying them, how do you think the government can also come around in such a way that if they decide to say jettison, can we really do without the middlemen?
Actually, the truth, every economy actually has middlemen, but middlemen can also be regulated, and their profits also can be significantly taxed. I think it's the situation in which we permit middlemen to just ride offshore the system. But the truth of it is that we need to just fix refineries. Government needs, particularly the federal government, needs to permit, some conglomerates of states to establish their own refineries, small as they may be. We don't have establishing refineries needn't be a rocket science. It can be done by groups of states within Nigeria, and it can be done perfectly in such a way that it will cut the need for importing fuel.
The administration before that of Yar'Adua gave out licenses for refineries. Why do you think those that collected the licenses, were not able to set up their refinery?
Well, of course, with the lack of political will to sanction those who have refused to do what is right, that's actually what's Nigeria's bane. Our main bane is that, you could grant 1,000 licenses, and people could just trade off those licenses too. You could just trade them off. Lot of import licenses. You could be granted import licenses to bring in fertilizer, and you could trade it off, and then get the profitable, you get a profit margin, and then fertilizer will still refuse to be imported. So I think the problem with us is that we need to sanction very heavily those who actually try to sabotage the Nigerian system. Government exists actually for the majority of the people. We agree that the minority who are middlemen and those who are importers are also part of the Nigerian system, but you see, they cannot just begin to hold us to ransom. And we've got to just sanction them. And the way to sanction them, of course, is government, first of all, fix its own refineries, and then seek a way by which their companies can be sanctioned.
Well, because this is what they said was going to happen before the removal of fuel subsidy.
Yes.
They were beginning to hold those conferences, town hall meetings, but at last it stopped, and that announcement was made before the people protested. But from the look of things, do you think that, now that this administration is in the twilight, the incoming one getting set to assume those responsibilities, one just wonders, how do you see them handling this scenario? Because if the House of Reps has voted to retain the fuel subsidy, they say Labour has consistently said, no, hold on to it, do certain things before you remove it. Do you see them going and saying, well, look, if we can't sustain this, we need to get it off?
Yes, ordinarily, the National Assembly has the authority to set levels of expenditure, and it could therefore tinker with the manner by which presentation of the budget is either done, or the quantum of funds provided for subsidy, or for whatever expenditure the government may want to do. The House of Representatives actually have taken a political, very popular path. But looking at the macroeconomics of Nigeria, it is unsustainable. You cannot sustain this level of expenditure on subsidy. You just can't do it. That's the truth. It's like the federal government, for example, being ambivalent on the issue of students paying school fees. Everybody knows that you don't run a system like that. The very advanced economies and advanced countries which we try to ape outside of these shores, people pay fees for schooling, particularly university education. But the federal government, because it is not politically convenient, okay, I'm going to increase fees, then vote for me. It's not a politically convenient statement to make within the Nigerian system, factoring in our developing economy. But the fact is that it is not sustainable.
So you're looking at, it would seem it would seem then that there is a job of work to do, as my colleague would say, in terms of also handling, the protests that will come.
Yeah.
Because we like it or no, the National Assembly, especially the House of Representatives, is saying, no, we cannot take away fuel subsidy. How much more labor?
Oh, yes. Once the National Assembly says that, it becomes law, at least a law that has been passed. And the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will be wise to sign into law such a bill.